Hello, I thought it would be a great idea if instead of writing millions and millions of words, I just talk and say how I feel personally, because this play is really, really, really hard, powerful, and it hits buttons where buttons needed to be pressed. Now, this can be argued that it's just a play, but actually, the writer based this play off a newspaper article of a university in Sydney. He was reading it about these negativity connotations to Aztec Day, and then it inspired him. How about he make up this family and these upsiding views of this newspaper which he read that long ago. Now, in Australia, when he first published this play, it didn't go down very well because people didn't really want to know the truth, and in most cases, it was seen as horrible. You can't say that things, and there's a right and wrong to both sides of this argument. Now, this play I thought, was delivered in such a powerful, meaningful way. And it was on a Zoom call, which I think is incredible. It was obviously edited a lot, but still it captured that essence of being online, and it underlying meaning sort of felt people can disconnect and become lonely even though they're in the same room, even though they're in the same country. They can just easily be disconnected, switch off, whether it be online or how they physically relate to these events. Like, if someone was talking to me, I could easily switch off and think about my personal opinions if they weren't saying what I want them to be saying. Now, this play is really, really good, and I personally feel the best character and the best actor who played this character was definitely Dot, Mrs. Cook, in other words. I felt that she had such power within her voice, which really, really delivered the message. And I feel what really stuck out to me was the way she approached to get these things. If she wasn't getting her way one time, she didn't have to change the words. She just had to change her intention, which I thought was so powerful. She was greeting Jan to the lovely family, to the dad, to the friend, and there's a million ways to portray this. But she instantly didn't like Jan for the way she approached her, pretending that she's a proper Aussie, and Dot thought she was sort of making fun of her. And instead of changing the words to, oh God, this girl, or whatever, she changed one of her intentions and the whole scene changed. And it was so raw and genuine that it really changed my mind. And with her changing her intentions, we could see she wasn't in either side. She can see the benefits and negativity of both sides, which I think is really powerful and shows what she must have been going through all of these years of this celebration which happens in Australia, and probably what a lot of mums and young, especially women, feel like when these events were happening on a really yearly basis. Now, what really drew me in was the narrator of the story. This narrator had such energy, like you could tell she was really enjoying the storytelling, and she was so truthful. I genuinely thought she was reading a book until it got to the end and she was still on page 1. But she was so invested within the story without being a proper character, which I think is really, really inspiring, and made it exciting to hear the narration, which sometimes could be a switching off point for the audience and a disconnecting point, which I was saying at the beginning. Now, I think all the characters had some brilliant moments in this play, and the actors playing them, I feel, did such a good job of carrying these heavy emotions and this powerful message which they might not agree with. Because these are proper Australian actors, they might not agree with this. They might especially some of them, they might have actually seen this newspaper article, read up about this newspaper article, and were probably hurt themselves, or they might have had to play different views of what they actually felt during that time. But they all felt what they needed to feel and what the character needed them to feel and portray. Now, I feel the person who tried the most was, of course, Dot. I felt she really changed her intentions to really fit what her character felt in the moment. And I think that's what's so special. Because this play is so heavy and powerful, it sort of needs a bit of blocking and a bit of understanding. So it's very easy for an actor to get into patterns because they don't want to not portray this argument as well as they should have, because still in Australia it can still hit people, especially the older generation. So I feel it's very hard to change what you planned and everything, but she was so in the moment that all of her points actually came across to me, and was one of the two characters who I actually believed all the way through. And now I agree, she should have bigger facial expressions and really show what she was feeling. Like when the friend was really telling her the story and the experiences he went through. She had a dead face, is what I like to call it. But it really worked because she made it work. She didn't want to cry because I felt she was the mum. She was portrayed as the glue of this family. And if she broke down, she knew he would break down. She knew that the whole family would break at this already breakable event which was happening to her and the family and the environment around them. Now I also feel Jan was such a powerful character. Her points she got across made me actually think about this side which I didn't really want to think about. She played a character which she might not have actually wanted to play. This character which was hated by the family, and generally hated probably by the audience, especially at that time. And she played it with such truthful, and she knew she wanted that point. She didn't, oh, okay, well, people might not like me as the actor, so maybe if I play it a bit like, yeah, I don't really want it, or everything, then they won't hate me. But she didn't. She did it. She didn't care about if people hated her as the actor because she knew they would understand it was a character she was portraying. And if she did that character justice, then the whole scene would just transform and really show the audience these powerful messages which really needed to be shown, especially as this is happening in the real world, not only in this world which the actors created. Now, I felt Hughie, I think that's how you say it, I felt he had some really good moments, especially at the end when he didn't want to tell his dad that he actually fought for his dad, but there's nothing he can do. And yeah, I felt he really worked at the end. At the beginning, I didn't really understand what his character was about, because he seemed to stand up for the family, but in front of the family he didn't, and it was very confusing because I didn't feel he really got his intentions across, especially at the beginning. But as the scene went on, as he saw these characters that were sharing a scene with him, I think it really hit into his character. When the dad was shouting at him, when the mum was shouting at him, when everyone turned against him, that's when his character shone through. That's when his character had the urgency, had whatever he needed to have to really transform. At the beginning, it was just an actor. It wasn't really anything special. And it sort of made me not believe him and not really follow on from his character. But at the end, it was so powerful. And when the narrator said he went on to live a really successful life, I was so proud because I'd seen this character progress and to the final stages where I wanted to see him do that. I really wanted him to be there taking the pictures because he created this character which I grew to like. And even though he probably wanted me to trust his character from the right go, I liked having to grow with the character, because it made me follow his argument a lot more than if he was just all one intention all the way through. But he varied his intentions almost like Dot, which really led to his character's development. However, I feel at the beginning he could work a lot more, and it's really inspired me, because I really want to work on getting power right from the beginning, right, so the audience can trust me right away, trust my character right away, and just transform. Because I feel for Pip especially, as a narrator, I wasn't really excited, which this narrator was, and drew the audience in. And I feel really bad, because the audience were probably a bit switched off whenever I spoke as a narrator. But it was so grateful, because now, if I'm a narrator again, I know it's almost more important than the actual characters on the stage. As much as it could be boring, the narrators carried the story. And when I was Mr. Hubble, I didn't really feel I drew the audience in. And that's at the beginning, and I really felt if I, even though Mr. Hubble had 2 lines, them 2 lines, if I powered with them, the audience would trust this character, and I think it's so important. And I think this play really showed the importance of intentions, urgency, and the character's needs, which I really want to work on, because I really want to work on the character's needs, urgency, and intentions, because I can get that with improvs, because it's so fun, I get to be free. But I should also get that feeling in script language, because it's the same acting, it's just one you can just say whatever you want, and one you say what's on the script, which is, you could still find so much freedom within that, which I have been working on recently with my partner Brooke. And I've actually feel I transformed, and this play has really made me want to push even more to approach this goal which I created for myself. Going on, I really thought the dad tried. I actually really liked the character of the dad, Mr. Cook, because I felt he was very patriotic. He knew what he wanted. He wasn't going to change his ways for anyone, no matter who came in, whether it was his son's girlfriend, his friend, whoever it was. He wasn't going to change the way his dad made him feel, the way he made him feel, the way everyone in the Second World War really got him. And I feel it was really good, because the character kept pushing at the same point, and it pushed the argument. It was this fighting, because at some cases it was only him fighting, but it felt like a million people, because of the people he represented. He represented everyone who was in favour of this Aztec play in these yearly events. And he fought well. I felt even though the character's lines didn't support that he won, I felt he won himself. He won. He got his son's girlfriend out. He got his son gradually back. He got his wife back on track. He managed to get everyone at the end of the play to side with him. However, me saying that, I love the character. The actor, however, even though there was one intention, he still had to listen. He still had to be inspired by what other people were saying. Because as much as he can agree with this point, and he might not want to listen to any other views, he still has to listen. And I felt because he wasn't listening, he was blocking, and it made all the actors really have to push to work with him, sort of the opposite of what they had to show, and they were having to work so hard that I felt bad, especially for the wife who was with him for every scene, because she had to work with this blocking energy, and this energy which wasn't being listened to, and she knew it wasn't being listened to. But I think that brought more to her character, because sometimes as mums, they do get ignored if they're not following the right viewpoints. Now, their friend, their friend, I felt was really, really powerful. I'm sorry, I'm looking at a picture of him because, especially when he was looking at the pictures of war, I felt he could have given 110%, because sometimes for me he came off a little forced and a little not really showing his true emotions. However, especially during his monologue where he was showing Dot his life and what he went through, it was so powerful because he didn't break down. He had intention over emotions, which is actually more important to the audience. They don't really want to see a crying mess, a man brought to tears, because it's hard to watch and they don't actually know what's going on half the time. He got his intentions across. He didn't cry. He got his intentions across, which I felt was more powerful. I felt his character was so much better than anyone which I have seen, because I've seen a couple of these scenes because I did want to do some for monologues. But I felt for him, he was so original with his character, and yeah, it like, I mean, now just talking about it took my breath away as an audience member, as an actor. He really took my breath away, and and it was just so powerful, that this performance which he did, which really made me think about these soldiers who really risked their life. And I would definitely recommend, if you agree with these points, really watch other takes, because this feature is so powerful. And there's a picture which really got to me, and yeah, it was below the performance I was watching, and it was a picture of another highlight, an advert as such, and it was a man with a horn, like a little bugle, that's the word, a bugle. And then another character on the opposite side, like a silhouette figure of a man doing the same pose, probably the same man drinking. And it really brought, because he didn't go to the marches, he didn't do anything, yet in this play he got shouted at, he got his views snatched away from him. But this other characters, like, they had their people going like, oh no, all forcing like that. He was natural. He knew people have their own points and it's okay. And that was the first time I saw that character done that way, and I thought it worked so much for me, because yes, he fought this war which now is going to be portrayed so badly and so negatively, but he didn't care. He fought that war not to get bad press. He fought that war for his beliefs, for what he believed in, what he was forced to do, which I think is really powerful. Now, I'm going to go on, because I spoke about all the characters, I'm going to go on to speak more about what they did on Zoom, because I think it was really powerful. I loved the scene where the dad got back and he was drunk, and all of a sudden, like, we were just watching what he was seeing of all these, his wife, his friend and his son all drift away in different bits of the screen, and it would be blurred, it would come back, and we really saw his confusion, and like, we saw it with our own eyes and we heard it with him saying it, and it was so powerful, like, because it represented what a drunk person would have probably been like, and we could see his state, which led up to, not because he didn't have that time to really work on that connection, that power, that drive to really make him go berserk. Him being drunk showed he didn't have to have that build up. He was confused. We could see he was confused because we saw what he saw. And then that probably drove the anger, the shouting at his son, which, yeah, it was so powerful. There were some sections where they reached out for the screen, where one person would have an object, let's say this glove, and they would pass it to the other person like that. So it'll be off. Well, I mean, I'll try my best. It'll be like that. So the audience can see the arm reaching, and then the other person would grab their hand and take it out of the other person's hand. And then, oh yeah, look, I got the glove now. And it was so effective because it looks like they're genuinely passing and chucking things and doing whatever with the other characters. However, I love the courtside theatre when they did it. I don't think RADA actually did it. But with this performance, I feel they edited it and they changed the directions from everyone. So one person will be reaching there, and then the person trying to receive it would reach there, and it wasn't the same place. And it made my imagination not work like it did before, because yeah, it was taken and it was a bit fun, a bit comical to see, but in real life, like, I don't know, I feel like they edited it so well that they forgot the silly mistakes of actually they need to be like that, not like that. Yes. So that happened. Oh, and I loved it when they took their screens off. And they played it so well with the music. When the music was playing, they listened to the beat, they listened to everything, and then they disconnected. And it was so powerful because it was in time with the music, and the music choice, I don't think it was in any original play, which I saw personally, but the music choice was so good. It was modern, because this whole play felt modern. It felt what I could, if I went to Australia now, I could see that in a family. And yeah, when they moved with the music, it was so powerful. However, there was one, the son, I'm sorry, I really can't pronounce his name, Hugh, I think that's his name. He came on a bit too soon, which made his speech go over the music, and it was very hard to hear. So I feel, as much as it was very powerful to see when it did work, the actors still need to listen out, even when they're preparing for the scene which is happening, which they shouldn't really be preparing, but they should really listen to the music, have that third eye as an actor, really listen, and then speak when the music has finished, or die down, or whatever, because I missed his line, and I think I missed the dad's line because he wanted it to be a fast cue, which sort of made the scene die a little, and it was a bit like, I didn't really get the start of that conversation. Going on to a bit more mistakes, there was some, I felt like not really much of them did their warm-ups and articulation exercise and actors warm-ups, because especially the son, and I feel I think the dad as well, they stumbled up on a couple of lines, and it wouldn't necessarily happen, like it could happen once or twice, but it happened multiple times. So it sort of showed to me that they weren't committed to the technical side of acting. They were just focused on their character, which is fair enough, but it's okay to care about your character, but for the audience, we need to really understand what they're saying to really connect with it. I could go on talking all day about this amazing play, and so far I'm talking about all the negatives, when actually it was an amazing play, and I learnt so much from it. I learnt about intentions, urgency, how your character can be completely different, how it doesn't have to be the same style, it can be however you view the character, or you and the director. And I felt it was so powerful, and if you haven't watched it and you're watching this now, go on over and watch it, because it's so powerful, and watch different versions, because they portrayed the characters in such a different way. I feel really have fun watching it because it's such a powerful message, and yeah, it some sections really took my breath away, as I've been saying, and I really feel the acting, however much they messed up or how I would have done things differently, I still feel that you can learn something from each and every character. I feel they all worked their hardest, and they portrayed the story as well as they can, and they didn't judge the characters, which I loved. And I'm going to stop it there, because I realise I'm looking at the timer and it's 24 minutes and 44 seconds, and it's going to come on longer than the actual play. But I just want to finish by saying what a treat it was to watch it. What a privilege it was to watch it. And I can't say any more. I want to leave it like that because it was so powerful. And the acting, the characters, the scenery, the set, the props, the music, the everything, the narrator, everything about this play had their own essence, had their own spin. And that made it even more better because it made me connect on a personal basis. So I'm going to end it there by saying thank you so much, Irene, and how much you can take on board to the actors, how much you can take on board from the acting of this, because even though it might not look that great acting, because it doesn't look great, it is great. Sometimes when a play happens, they force it to be good, and it sometimes is good. But when they don't force it to be good, when they don't really care how the audience views it, they want to get their character's view across with the intention of getting the audience to enjoy it, but not focusing on that wholly, it makes it more exciting for me. So I'm going to leave it there, and thank you so much. And I hope you made it to the end. I'm sorry for waffling.